short Saxon ring circuit. That's what they're all here for. That's what they're all fighting for. The MotoGP World Champions Tower. Who will be the recipient of that award in late November in Valencia? Don't discount this man, Jonsbo. Pole here 2 years ago in 2021. He kept fellow Frenchman Fabio Quartararo very honest, didn't he, in that 30-lap race here 1 year ago in much more mentally and physically testing conditions. Jonsbo fancies the chances of the podium here. Yesterday it was a bizarre reason for his poor start. His front ride-height device hadn't disengaged going through the first 3 corners. Bizarrely, it was actually the clout he got from Brad Binder coming out of turn number 3, which actually popped the front end back up. And that when ensued a pretty frenetic fight between Binder and Zarco, which ended with a super aggressive move from Zarco on the South African through the high speed at turn number 11 on that very last lap. Very shortly though, we're going to get a revised grid to run you through, of course. The grid changing with Marc Marquez sadly withdrawing from this 30-lap Grand Prix.
Let's take a look at it then. Pecco Bagnaia is on pole position from Luca Marini and Jack Miller. John Zarco, Marco Bezzecchi and Jorge Martin are together on road 2. Can Martin make any progress to put himself in the frame for a Saxon ring double? Alex Marquez, he heads the...
Oh, gue tau apa yang lebih seru lagi, yaitu gue hancurin ini.
Bluetooth has been disconnected. Row 4, Fabio Di Gianantonio, Augusto Fernandez and Miguel Oliveira on row 5 ahead of Frankie Morbidelli and Taka Nakagami. Ralph Fernandez starts from 18th position on the grid, and completing our 19-rider field is Jonas Folger. Just looking through the tyre options there, Matt, as they flick through the page. Everybody has gone to the grid at this stage with the hard front, medium rear combination. That is our information at the moment. Of course, they have around about 15 minutes to potentially change their minds.
Just as we like it, a straight shootout in terms of the tyre choice. Nobody taking what would be a real left field gamble, a punt on that medium front tyre, just as Marco Bezzecchi and Johan Zarco did yesterday. Now then, this time 1 year ago, Fabio Quartararo won the German Grand Prix, and with an exit for Pecco Bagnaia, he left the Saxon ring 91 points clear in the championship. At the moment though, it's tough going for Yamaha and the Frenchman, Fabio Quartararo. What can he do? Let's hear some pre-race thoughts of their team manager, Maio Meregali, who's with Simon.
Maio, it's been a tough season so far, especially as Matt Burt was just mentioning, leading the championship, winning here a year ago. I noticed that both machines have different rear wings on. I imagine you're also working on developing and getting information even during the race.
For sure, now we are also starting to think about exploring things that we started doing that at the beginning of the winter test, but then the time there was not enough, and now I think we know what we have, and if we keep using what we have, we already know the results. So that's why we are really thinking to try to touch different paths and seeing if we can get something, because we know this package very well. We have been, as you know, very conservative, but we do believe that there is something again that this package can give us, and now it's time to exploring.
And one last thing about the race, Maio, is like in general it's been all about qualifying, and if he can qualify, especially Fabio, in the right place, he has the pace for the race. What about today?
Yeah, also yesterday was like this. I don't want to say that the pace was good enough to fight for the podium, but realistically now we are thinking more about 5th, 6th, 7th, and the pace he had was good to stay with them. It was a pity that okay, we entered Q2, but we could not at least start from the 3rd row rather than the 4th. It's a work in progress, and we will for sure find something, find a way to get out of these difficulties. And but having said that, it's
mantap. Halo Cap.
The qualifier super important.
Main PB nggak Cap ntar malam Cap? PBU Cap. Jam berapa ya? 9 po. Main po jam 9.
trying to find some solutions to what's been a very bleak 2023 so far for the Iwata factory. With no Mark
Gas,
Marquez,
ayo.
no Juanmi, and no Alex
Kita
Rins for
habis nonton
HRC,
ini
and of
jam
course,
9-an.
Yamaha's involvement in MotoGP reduced to just 2 bikes this year.
Bagus yang ini, yang ini.
Time there was a top flight Premier Class Grand Prix that started with just 3 Japanese motorcycles on the grid. Of course, just Nakagami for LCR Honda and the
Yang ini kan yang aku pakai.
Fabio Quartararo and Frankie Morbidelli on the grid. Not expecting any new
Iya emang.
wonders for Quartararo.
Kan ada harga ada kualitas Cap.
16 respectively.
Yang itu kan harganya berapa? 180-an yang itu tuh yang aku jual.
Frustrating Sunday with Zarco and Martin looking so strong already so far this weekend. One of the pre-German Grand Prix thoughts that their boss Gino Borsoy.
Gino, yesterday you had 2 of the fastest men on the circuit, not just Jorge but also Joe.
Yang ini 250 Cap.
It's double the distance today. Double the distance. What is the differences?
Someone only we know.
Yesterday we use as all the rider on track, the soft on rear, and today medium. We have some data. We check even today this morning during the warm up. Seems that the medium on rear it's okay too for
Halo.
distance, but they have to manage at the end for sure. So will be not easy, especially because all the riders have the same choice. It's all about how to manage the rear tire for the end of the race.
One other thing I'm thinking is Johan Zarco regularly is strong on the medium rear tire at different circuits. What about Jorge? And what about Johan?
Well, in terms of data, we saw in the last 2 days that the medium on rear for Jorge was okay too. It was fast with the medium, so let's see. Finger crossed because we know and he know he have a really good pace. About Zarco, last part of the race is always fast, but it's a different race, different temperature. Tricky point is the first corner. Let's see if they are able to make the first good lap. I think they have also a good chance to make another good race.
Thank you, Gino. Good luck.
Oh, nggak ada ini. Oh iya itunya.
Simon, as we mentioned, the Pramac boys, Zarco and Martin, they are both in search of 3 podiums in a row for the first time in their MotoGP career. Zarco has not done that since 2016 when he successfully defended his Moto2 title. 4th on the grid, his best qualifying in 11 since Motegi last year.
Fabio Di Gianantonio here starts from 13th on the grid. If you'd told Fabio Di Gianantonio a week ago in the Tito Sprint in Sensering you'll finish between Marc Marquez and Fabio Quartararo,
Vietti nggak terlalu merhatiin Moto2 kalau Vietti itu.
Fortunately outside the points, 12th place for him in the sprint. Di Gianantonio looking to try and replicate his best MotoGP result, which came here a year ago.
KTM carry big hopes in this feature race, don't they, with Jack Miller starting from the front row on the podium in yesterday's sprint, and you can never discount the hard-charging Brad Binder from fighting his way through the pack. Let's get some thoughts from KTM Motorsport Director Pit Byron with Simon.
Pit, at the circuits early in the championship, it was really clear your bike was so good entering and exiting. It struggled a little bit more with those long turns, long fast turns in Mugello, but I knew you guys wouldn't take that lying down. It looks like you've already improved it a little bit over practice. What do you feel about both your riders and your machine going into this race?
Yeah, I mean after the highlight in Jerez and
Ya bak naya. Kalau dia masih terus-terusan ya. Soalnya Yamaha begitu, Honda begitu, saingannya cuman Martin sama Beseki udah. Saingnya Bagnaya cuma 2 orang itu tuh.
What we could see yesterday going into the start and finish straight. So I feel we are good. We are back where we can be. It's a tough fight out there, especially with the Ducatis. The boys put the level very high. But yeah, being in first row with the start performance of our bike, I feel we can do a great race today.
Thanks, Pit. Best of luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks to Pit Byron. That's what they're all chasing this afternoon then at the end of 30 laps. That is the Saxon Ring race-winning prize next to the biggest prize in motorcycle racing. It is the World Champions Tower. This man had the honour of putting his name on that illustrious list of MotoGP World Champions from for past history. Pekka Bagnaia, then the 26-year-old Italian, going from pole position. Let's go down to Simon Crayford, who's got Massimo Rivola, a pretty racing CEO after a difficult weekend for the Nawali factory.
Massimo, please give us your thoughts. It's quite clear you still haven't been able to get those results.
Ya mau sebagus apa skillnya, skill pembalapnya kalau motornya nggak support, ya nggak bakal bisa terjun sih. Dia malah kegendong prank motornya. Ya motornya juga bagus, gimana ya? Setiap rider kalau motornya cocok, motornya bagus, pasti bagus. 2011 Quartaro sama 2021 Quartaro sama siapa sih? Morbidelli bukan? Aku lupa lagi 2021 apa sama Rossi. Aduh, gak bisa.
We can get out of the first two corners in a decent position. Maybe we can keep that. Otherwise, it's going to be very tough.
Thank you and best of luck today.
Thank you.
Quartaro sekarang masih bagus sebenarnya, cuman motornya nggak support. Gimana dong?
Left under no illusions his thoughts on Aprilia's current plight. Some angry words as well, saying that Aprilia at the moment have one of the worst starting devices, launch devices in MotoGP. What can he do then?
Dia lagi nyeting.
From 9th place.
Gak bisa dimiringin. Nih, kayak gini nih miringin nih. Tuh, miring tuh. Gini aja udah. Ntar aku naikin lagi. This can be the end.
Special atmosphere of the German national anthem here at the Saxonry.
Gimana ya caranya biar naik? Nah, bisa. Gak ada. Udah pakai ini aja. Kalau full bisa ke Bennett soalnya. Nah, biar aku bisa ngelihat chatnya. Lah. Apa ini?
A stirring rendition of the German national anthem. The German Grand Prix in front of a bumper crowd is just under 10 minutes away. What can we expect from Mooney VR46? Luca Marini goes from a career best second. Marco Bezzecchi from the middle of the second row. Pablo Nieto is on the grid with Simon.
Sorry, it's Paolo Ciabatti with me. Paolo, your man, Pekka Bagnaia, is leading the championship. There's quite a few other Ducatis that are extremely competitive here. The bike to beat. Please give us your thoughts.
Yeah, you're right. Pecco's leading. Maybe you could have a much wider margin without those crashes, but it's important. He's leading. It's true that we have many Ducati competitive here also. So Sachsenring is not anymore a track which doesn't suit the Ducati as it was in the past. Obviously, since 2008 with Casey Stoner. Yesterday was great, but the sprint race doesn't count as a GP. So it would be great for Ducati to be able to be again the winner of a GP of Germany. Let's see which rider. Hopefully it's a Ducati rider, but I'm sure that Pecco will be there, but you know, Martin for sure, and I think some other guys will be fighting for the leading group. And managing the tire with this hot condition, with this heat, is going to be, I think, key for success.
Paolo, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Unmistakably, Paolo Ciabatti with Simon Crayford on the grid. Of course, 6 Ducatis start within the top 7 grid slots now with the withdrawal of Marc Marquez, so the possibilities are quite high for a victory for one of the Bologna Bullets. Of course, the other 2 spots within the top 8 occupied by the factory KTMs. Jack Miller from 3rd. What about Brad Binder coming from the 3rd row of the grid? Got stuck behind Johann Zarco yesterday in the sprint, or got stuck behind Luca Marini and beaten by Johann Zarco on the final lap. If he can get off the line a little bit better today, Brad Binder feels he's got the pace to better his sprint showing yesterday.
So the pole position of 1:21.409, a drying track yesterday. Predicted race pace based on what we saw over the 15 laps from eventual sprint winner Jorge Martin, around a 1:21.4. But this is a journey into the unknown in many respects, because there was rain disruptions on Friday, rain disruptions yesterday as well. So the riders certainly have not had the prep time they would normally have liked coming into this 30-lap Grand Prix of Germany, as Ducati continue to try and continue their domination of MotoGP. They're going for their 4th podium lockout of the season. Termas, of course, kicked off this golden run.
Someone
Out of the top 3 in our last 2 feature races in France in Le Mans and in Italy in Mugello. Sam Crafar just saying from down on the grid that maybe Aleix Espargaro taking a last-minute and 11th hour gamble on the soft rear tyre as he tries to fight his way through early on that, well, from the back of the 3rd row as it stands now. If he does get through, he's going to have to go into time management mode, isn't he, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's been here then 1 year ago. Who would have thought, fast forward 12 months, that was the last time we saw this man stand on the top step of the Grand Prix podium. The last time that he actually led a Grand Prix was right here in the Sachsenring 1 year ago. An all-French 1-2, of course, with fellow Frenchman Johann Zarco fighting his way through to the runner-up spot.
And the possibilities aren't exactly high that Fabio Quartararo is going to change that today, of course,
So
coming from 11th on the grid. Fabio Quartararo just that sole podium this season back in Austin, and that was from a season's best qualifying, the only time this year that he's started inside the top 7 on the grid. But it's really going to be crucial for Jorge Martin to try and make up ground early on in this race. You could argue he was helped slightly in the sprint yesterday by Jack Miller getting to the front of the race and just keeping Pecco Bagnaia boxed in a little bit. If Bagnaia can hit the front early, he'll be keen to try and put as much time into Martin if the sprint winner does find himself stuck in a little bit of early traffic.
Jorge Martin's had that special winning feeling here in Sachsenring previously, before a double winner in the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup all the way back at the start of his career in 2013 and 2014. Moto 3 winner here in 2018 ahead of Marco Bezzecchi, one of his rivals here this afternoon. And of course yesterday, a sprint winner here at the Sachsenring. But he wants the big one. He wants the 25 points and a first Grand Prix in the Premier Class victory in 35 since Austria 2021. The fans are enjoying life in the Sachsenring sunshine. This is the one that they've all come to see, although the man they all came to see if he could extend that golden run of 12 successive victories in 12 starts here at the Sachsenring. Marc Marquez on the Repsol Honda, unfortunately sidelined after this morning's bruising 4th gear high side going through turn number 7, his 5th spill of the weekend, and Marquez opting, does not feel ready to race, probably mentally and physically, for this 30-lap Grand Prix, so he will sit it out. So then, Jack Miller, 3rd in yesterday's 15-lap sprint. He goes from the back of that front row of the grid on the factory KTM. Luca Marini on the Mini VR46 Ducati, a career best starting position for the 2500 Italian. He goes from 2nd alongside compatriot Pecco Bagnaia, 21 points clear in the World Championship. The race winner 7 days ago, Mugello. Is there more brilliance from Bagnaia here in Germany?
someone only we know. Ta 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 ta.
Welcome back to Germany. Good afternoon, everyone. We are set for the 30-lap German Grand Prix. A Saxon ring stunner coming your way. Without the Saxon King, though, unfortunately. 8 times world champion. A race winner here on 11 occasions on his last 11 minutes. Marc Marquez sadly ruled out through injury. The 8 times world champion suffering a 5th high-speed crash of his crash-strewn weekend here at his beloved Saxon ring, and taking the very difficult decision to withdraw from this German Grand Prix. We were all expecting, as a crowd of nearly 100,000 fans who, when they bought their tickets, were probably expecting to see Marc Marquez firmly in the fight for German Grand Prix glory once again. Multiple MotoGP winner here, twice a Moto2 winner and in Moto3, but Marc Marquez is sidelined from this German Grand Prix. Warm-up lap underway then. A slightly depleted 19-rider field with Taka Nakagami now left on his lonesome as the HRC representative, with, of course, Dranmir and Alex Rins already sidelined from this Saxon Grand Prix. It's all eyes, though, isn't it, on the dominant Ducati. Pekka Bagnaia leads the front row, 4 poles in his last 5 races. He is trying to stretch his 21-point world championship lead going into the Dutch TT in Assen next weekend. 21 points clear of sprint winner Jorge Martin. Look at that, we had a record Sunday crowd, didn't we, of 116,000 fans in Le Mans. Nearly 100,000 fans here on race day, over 230,000 fans at a weekend crowd as well. The buzzing atmosphere, a special atmosphere. MotoGP as alive and kicking, isn't it, in 2023? We are seeing fantastic crowds once again in this year's World Championship. There is your championship standings then. Pekka Bagnaia, 140 points going into this 30-lap Grand Prix of Germany. This time last year, when we left the Saxon ring after his crash ahead of Fabio Quartararo, everybody was saying, no way Pekka Bagnaia can win the World Championship now. He was 91 points adrift, wasn't he, of Quartararo after this Grand Prix. As we come here 12 months later, everybody's saying he can't lose it this year. What will unfold, though, over the next 40 minutes or so as the riders come to the grid for what we hope will be a sensational Saxon ring German Grand Prix. No Marc Marquez, which is a real blow for Honda and a real blow for the near 100,000 strong crowd. But as Fabio Quartararo won here last year, will we see a new name as a race victor here at this historic venue?
Yo, let's go race.
German Grand Prix, lights out, full throttle, and we are underway. Well, Luca Marini got a good launch on that Mooney V.
Jack Miller launchnya.
Jack Miller again, who just rockets away on that factory KTM. He's got the inside line, he hugs that tight line as well. Miller will lead as they drop down the hill going through the Amiga section. Bagnaia squeezed the Marini out wide. He takes 2nd place.
And Martin away well. He's up into 4th place from the inside line into the 1st corner. We got the inside of Brad Binder and Luca Marini. John Zarco's down to 7th place, so he's not got away well either.
Betsecki into P6. Brad Binder inside that top 5. Further down, now Bastianini slipped down to 12th place. This is on the grandstands. What a shot that is as the fans are on their feet. Hands in the air, they are looking at the field, sweeping through the high-speed turn 7, that 4th gear, 161km/h corner. Well, that's where Marc Marquez had his big crash this morning in the warm-up, which has ruled him out of this German Grand Prix. Miller's getting on with this early on, isn't he? Already through the 2nd split, nearly 3/10 clear of Bagnaia.
And John Zarco is trying to get on with it further back. He's trying to deal with Marco Betsecki. He's got Aleix Espargaro behind him, who is on that soft rear tyre.
Just like we saw in the sprint yesterday, though, Miller just can't get that KTM up, coming through turn.
Miller langsung turun anjir 3 posisi, cok. Ih, Alex.
But he's been pushed all the way back down to 4th place. A Ducati barrage came on through. Bagnaia, Marini and Martin just eased past the Australian. That was a real tough 3rd sector there for Miller. His problems seem to have returned from the sprint.
So the KTMs are 4th and 5th over the line. Then it's Aleix Espargaro, who's right behind them on that soft rear tyre, making it work in these early stages. Look at Binder trying to go around the outside of Jack Miller, but it's back as we were in the sprint yesterday with Bagnaia and Martin at the front, although of course it's the reigning world champion who leads us this time.
So Bagnaia just where he wanted to be. Is this going to be the picture for the remainder of 2023? Potentially building up here as a championship tussle between Bagnaia and Martin at the front of this Grand Prix. Alex Marquez trying to squeeze on the inside of Marco Bezzecchi there through that tight turns 5 and 6. They drop downhill then through the 4th gear, turn number 7. Bagnaia with clear track ahead of him, quarter of a second clear through the first half of this second lap ahead of sprint winner Martin.
Early moments, important early moments you feel for Brad Binder here. You feel he's the quicker of the two KTMs. He's certainly all over the back of Jack Miller. He doesn't want to let this leading trio of Ducatis get away and, of course, come under any pressure from behind. We're riding on board with Marini. Look how close it's punching up as Alicia Spargaro now gets involved with the KTMs.
Alicia Spargaro, a good spot by Simon pre-race. He did go late on for that soft rear tyre. So did Fabio Quartararo, 2 title contenders from last year, trying to make that extra soft grip work at the start of this Grand Prix, which they need to do. Of course, they'll have to be wary of the durability and the endurance of those soft rear tyres, but Alicia Spargaro making it pay right now. He's up to fit.
Here comes Brad Binder then coming back.
Binder.
It's really bunching up.
Alex Marquez naik.
Spargaro tries to come back through. Bezzecchi's getting embroiled in a battle there. He just lost the place to Zarco. I think Alex Marquez is also throwing Marco Bezzecchi down to 9th place.
Just a block pass there, was it, from Binder? Nothing that Alicia Spargaro could do. Parts of that first corner was Brad Binder's KTM. You saw Alicia Spargaro just have to check up there, didn't he, on the factory Aprilia. Back at the front there, Pekka Bagnaia. 6 podiums in 7 sprints, trying to continue his golden run as well in this German Grand Prix. Looks like Bagnaia and Martin are starting to stretch away. They'll have near to Jack Miller on this opening lap then. He's just flicked it hard right, 5th gear.
Pantas dia kehilangan 3 posisi. Langsung wush Ducatinya.
That's exactly what happened. Here comes Martin then. He's going to hit the front for the first time, just as he made the move here on Bagnaia and Miller in the sprint yesterday. Turn 12 is his favourite overtaking off spot, and now Martin picks up the baton. He leads here at the section ring.
Martin P1.
Danger signs then for Bagnaia, because once Martin got past him yesterday, Bagnaia didn't really see him again in the remainder of the sprint. Martin sets the fastest lap for the Grand Prix, half second quicker than Bagnaia, of course. He went from a quarter of a second behind to a quarter of a second ahead. Bagnaia needs to keep him in view and also make sure that he doesn't allow Luca Marini to come through as well.
Shades of 2022 here. It was Fabio Quartararo that made the early running, and Pekka Bagnaia dumped it, didn't he, behind him in that first corner. Crash which left him 91 points behind in the World Championship. That's Zarco on the inside of Alicia Spargaro in the Omega corner. So the Prima Para Ducati man, seeing his teammate Jorge Martin hit the front for the first time, he's eager to try and work his way now back into podium contention. Zarco up inside the top 6.
We know Zarco tends to get stronger as the race goes on, so he'll feel in a good position there in 6th place. But Luca Marini looks like he's ready to make a move on the reigning world champion. Pekka Bagnaia already halfway around this lap has fallen half a second adrift of Jorge Martin.
Iya, kena ban. Anjay, ada si Cap babi. Aku udah bisa live di TikTok, Cap. Live game PC juga bisa tau, Cap, sekarang. Cuman harus nyeting-nyeting, males.
Now Miller trying to respond and just compromise his exit there a little bit, didn't he, Brad Binder? They all bunch up behind the South African. What this is doing, of course, is giving the top 3 the chance to stretch away at the front. Martin again, just as he did in the sprint yesterday.
Yang ke-1 Martin, fastest lap loh. Alex Marquez.
1:21.342, quickest man on circuit, over 4/10 ahead of Bagnaia in second.
Alex Marquez and Marco Bezzecchi once again going side by side there in 2.
Gak bisa dong, copyright, Cap.
Quartararo on the Yamaha in 10th. He's ahead of an Bastianini who's not made progress. In fact, he's lost the place to the 2021 world champion off the line. Then it's all
Tadi aja kena ban, Cap, ini. Terlalu nampilin. Marquez nggak ikut. Cedera jempol. Jempolnya patah kalau nggak salah.
It's been a tough section ring weekend as well. For Vignales, he crashed out of the sprint, his first sprint DNF yesterday, but he was nowhere near the point scoring places. Now then, Bagnaia just starting to stretch his legs and move away from Marini. He drops down through the 5th gear, turn number 11. His problem though is trying to work out what to do and how to deal with Jorge Martin ahead of him. He did find nearly a couple of tenths in that third sector. Yesterday, Martin reigned supreme in sector 2. Last night, Bagnaya's home win
Yes, DJ naik. Mantap. Ayo lagi.
In turn 13, Bagnaya had a good look yesterday, didn't it, Martin, through the sector 2. He's able to turn so much better. What did Bagnaya learn from the studying those laptops last night inside that factory Ducati garage? Martin then leads over the line by 6.5 tenths.
The rider who made the move on that lap was Binder, who did his personal best lap of the race, so 1:21.3. He was quicker than the trio ahead of him, so Binder, having got clear of his teammate Miller, does appear to have the pace to run at the front of this race. He's currently 1.5 seconds off the lead, but currently the fastest rider on circuit.
Quartararo 10, Morbidelli 15.
Although he's having a good exchange with Miller, he's just lost that fifth spot in the first sector. You just wonder,
Hard medium, hard soft.
might be putting paid to Zarco's podium hopes here. A long way to go, and he is so adept, isn't he, at time management in the second half of races. But at the moment, he can see Brad Binder starting to streak away. He's got to find a way through quickly. Well, he did a hard move on Binder on the KTM in turn number 11. He's now dishing out some more.
Let's go, Zarco.
It was cleaner this time around. No contact between him and Miller. Zarco on the Australian, who's struggling for pace at the early part of this Grand Prix.
Miller's got no answer, particularly there through turns 10 and 11. This is turning into a similar story from
BZK attacking Alex. Yo DJ, cepet selesaiin Oliveira. Despite his personal best lap last time around.
That was Bastianini up the inside of Fabio Quartararo going into first corner. He looked like he's in a little bit wide. He was just using a bit of poke there on that Ducati, was he, down the short 700 meter start finish straight.
Yamaha kacau, penyebabnya apa? Pengemban motornya nggak jelas. Mau dibawa ke arah kemana tuh nggak jelas. Test ridernya siapa sih Yamaha? Yang aku denger sih pengembangannya nggak jelas, mau ke arah mana. Quartararo juga bilang kan, ini Yamaha, ini kita nggak tahu harus ke arah mana, bener-bener lost. Quartararo aja nyalain Morbidelli karena nggak terlalu ngebantu tim katanya.
Yeah, Miller's getting a mauling here, isn't he, unfortunately. That was a hard move, making that sweep on the inside of the Australian to turn 12. He just got pushed slightly wide, didn't he, there, Bezzecchi, trying to break as late as he possibly could. It just pushed him slightly off the optimum.
Duh, ganggu notifnya.
He's back on through. Johan Zarco then, having finally got through on Miller.
Masih di Jarvis.
Martin and this is the fastest lap of the race, 1:21.302, but just 2.5 seconds later, that was immediately bettered by Zarco. On your screens there, as you can see, a 1:21.265. That's only a fraction away outside of the best race that we've ever seen here in Sachsenring.
Yeah, we could soon see a scenario where the group behind Martin could all close up together. Bagnaia, Marini, Binder and Zarco, the latter two of those, Binder and Zarco, are quicker than the pair up ahead of them. Those are the gaps on the left-hand side of your screen as we watch them now from the aerial shot. Here is Martin then, who halfway around this lap is still 3/4 of a second up the road from Bagnaia. Of course, there was a role reversal in Mugello last time around where Bagnaia just kept that lead at around half a second for around the first half of the Grand Prix, and the longer it wore on, Martin just couldn't match the pace of Pecco Bagnaia. Is it going to be a role reversal here at the Sachsenring?
Going to keep a very close eye on the progress of Zarco now. Then on that 7th lap, he was nearly 2.5 seconds behind Jorge Martin. Going to be really fascinating to track his lap times now with a bit of clear air in front of him as he starts to really reel in Brad Binder.
Yo Allah, DJ kebisnya di Oliveira dari tadi. Wah, Vinales. Meleduk kah mesinnya? Oh, Vinales meleduk. Timnya Rossi, ya satelit Ducati. Apakah ada oli? Enggak. Enggak ada sih kayaknya. Oh, right hard device.
puff of smoke
Aduh,
coming out of the
oke.
inside of the Imperion. I'm sure Simon's going to have a quick close look at that one down in pit lane as Viñales just cruises rather disconsolately back into the pit lane on the Aprilia garage. There he is. Second time we've seen that in 2 German Grand Prix then from
No, Viñales out.
Couldn't see any fluid spilling out of it as he was crawling into the pit lane there, so hopefully we got away with that one. Here's Brad Binder though, who I said was really closing in on the leading trio. It may be Marini actually who's fading a little bit here because Bagnaia has stretched clear of Luca Marini and Binder is now firmly on the rear wheel of Luca Marini's Moody VR4060 Ducati. This is now a battle for the final podium position.
Iya, Ducati semua. Martin, Bezeki, Peko, udah.
The number 5 in P5.
Ya Allah, masih.
Jorge Martin continues his relentless charge at the front of this race. He's just done another personal best lap, a 1:21.300. And again, his next closest, or his chief rival in terms of pace, is Johan Zarco, who himself did a 1:21.32. So Zarco very, very quickly. We're trying to find out a way through. It's a repeat of yesterday, isn't it, really? Martin versus Bagnaia at the front. As Bezzecchi launches it late on the inside of Miller.
Bezzecchi move.
Then we've got that battle between Marini, Binder and Zarco unfolding again, just as it was in yesterday's sprint, albeit for 4th yesterday.
I was just about to say, actually, that there's a real queue building up behind Jack Miller, so that's an important move from Marco Bezzecchi to try and get clear of all of that. As Johan Zarco looked like he was ever so slightly wide there in the background. Zarco's lost a bit of time on this lap. He's lost a quarter of a second to the pair up ahead of him, but Binder feels as if he's got podium pace here. If he can get through Marini quickly, he might well be able to latch on to the leading pair. We ride on board with Binder down the hill through the Ralph Norman curve, and look how close in on Marini. Binder up to the inside. He's not allowing Marini to turn in. Binder able to get to the apex first, and the South African is
Binder
up into the pole
P3
positions.
podium.
You can just see that rear ride height device squatting on
Masih
the
lama
grips,
nih, masih
trying to
20
pick
lap.
up the dry grip. It'll do the same now coming out this final corner. There's your live championship. It's getting better, isn't it? That title race picture for Jorge Martin. He could be within striking distance of 16 points behind Pekka Bagnaia as we head for another showdown. Over 37 points available next weekend in Assen.
Akhirnya ke-12 juga.
Bagnaia, second to third was 1.6 seconds. Now the field have gone through the very loud pit lane. Let's go and get some thoughts. So, Simon, you spotted what happened to Maverick Viñales. Brilliant. What did you see?
Well, we all saw smoke coming from the exhaust out the side, which
Agak susah sih. Ya mungkin sih, mungkin. Tapi kayaknya nggak bisa secepat itu. Kayaknya butuh 2 atau 3 tahun lagi. Kayaknya ya. Tapi kalau tiba-tiba dapat arah pengembangannya kayak gimana, lihat aja. Tapi kayaknya nggak bakal secepat itu.
Pekka Bagnaia is just starting to close Martin down a little bit. He's found nearly 2/10 of a second in the first 3 splits on this lap number 11.
Well, we know Jorge Martin can withstand pressure. He's only got a GP win so far. He was under constant pressure from Joan Mir, wasn't he, back in Austria in 2021. Of course, he did give away a likely victory in Malaysia last year from a more comfortable lead than this. But this is a different kind of challenge that Jorge Martin is going to be faced with here. Of course, he's so good at leading races from the front, setting a pace that no one can match him with. But what can he do in a bitter battle? Is Bagnaia going to try and force Jorge Martin to fight for this and make sure that Martin doesn't pull away at the front?
Iya, dari satelitnya sendiri. Ya gimana, nggak ada yang bisa ngasih perlawanan.
Zarco's charge continues. We're on board now with Marini through this high-speed turn 7. This is where Marc Marquez had that sickening high side this morning. High-speed barrel roll through the gravel trap. That's why the former King of the Saxon Ring, the undisputed King of the Saxon Ring, sidelined from this Grand Prix. He withdrew pre-race. There is Binder then now. When he passed Luca Marini.
Oh, Zarco, nice. Favorite corner Zarco kah? Turn 11. 3 kali overtake di situ.
In the sprint, he made a hard move, a fair move on Miller early on, and this time his latest victim through the Waldman curve is Luca Marini. I don't think there's any corner on the Grand Prix calendar that Johan Zarco loves more than the Waldman curve. Turn number 11.
Alexander di LCR cuma cedera karena high side di Mugello kemarin. kakinya gitu kalau nggak salah, kakinya yang cedera. Battle for P8, Alex Marquez versus Alex Espargaro. Yes, 11, let's go. Ayo top 10, top 10. Quartararo 12. Let's go DG.
We could see this coming in terms of Marini's lap times, couldn't we? How quickly Binder and Zarco got on his rear tyre and then eased on through. I say ease, that's not really easing, is it, when you're flat out in 5th gear through the scary drop down the hill, turn number 11. Clean as a whistle though from Johan Zarco. On that lap 12, Marini was in the 122s, really struggling for pace as we come towards the halfway point of this German Grand Prix. There's still an awful long way to go, isn't it? Jorge Martin, it's going to be all about his focus, all about his concentration, and all about how he can manage this gap back to the world champion, Pekka Bagnaia, who's going to throw all at it. On board then now is Zarco, looking back to Marini. The gap between Martin and Bagnaia to start lap number 14 was just over 0.4 of a second.
And Binder has no answer to the pair up ahead of him, despite having empty tarmac up ahead of him for 2 or 3 laps now. Binder unable to get out of the high 121s. It is a 2-horse race at the front. Martin
GP sekarang udah kayak harapan Rossi nggak ya? Kira-kira banyak pembalap Italia yang bersaing. Kalau di MotoGP sih udah ya. Tapi kalau di kelas-kelas lain, Moto2 Vietti jelek. Ya kalau MotoGP oke lah, tapi kalau di kelas yang lain masih jauh.
My old eyes aren't deceiving me, are they? As now the gap through sector 2 drops to under 0.4 of a second. He's really now just starting to put that pressure on the shoulders of Jorge Martin, just to see if he will crack. Bagnaia has got the more experience in MotoGP, hasn't he? And managing to ties over the longer race distance as Martin drops down into the braking zone for turn number 12. And once again, you can clearly see on your screens with the vision there.
Aduh, masih jauh ding.
A couple of tenths if that behind Martin at the conclusion of this lap 14. That could be a decisive lap 14 in this 30-lap German Grand Prix.
So a real contrast for the two Prima Ducatis, because Martin's coming under pressure, but John Zarco, surely it's only a matter of time before he moves up into the podium positions. He is now all over the back of Brad Binder, just 0.2 of a second.
Isi Tech3 Augusto Fernandez sama Paul Espargaro, cuman si Paulnya lagi cedera kan, digantiin sama Jonas Folger.
About 85 kilometers an hour. You just got to be so careful here on the throttle as we ride on board with numero uno in P2 right now, Pekka Bagnaia. Just here, can't you? They're just feathering that throttle to keep the momentum, keep the rolling speed through turn 6 and 7, through the high speed 4th gear turn number 7. There's a lot of time here, a lot on the mind of Jorge Martin to try and hold on to this German Grand Prix victory. His first in nearly 2 full years. Through turn number 10 we go, and now they'll bank it hard right. 5th gear, just clicks 5th gear there, doesn't he? On that change of direction, Bagnaia, as they now sweep down through the Vollmann curve. It looks like there's a bit of an air of inevitability about this for him, Lewis, because now look at this. Bagnaia, he can almost reach out and touch the back of Jorge Martin's Ducati GP23, can't he? Looks like a matter of time before Bagnaia's going to hit the front here.
Well, there's a new air of confidence around Jorge Martin, but it's about to be put to the ultimate test by the reigning world champion, who now shadows the man who is his nearest championship rival. Of course, at this stage, 21 points separating them, so there's a potential 10-point swing here, depending on which of the two gets across the finish line first. John Zarco further back, lost a couple of tenths on the last lap to Brad Binder, so Binder's been able to get himself a little bit of a breathing space on that last lap over Johan Zarco. The gap between the two is around half a second in favour of Binder.
Yeah, you can just see the out your shot there coming through the Omega corner. Zarco then still lapping in those high 121s as Bagnaia and Martin drop down through turn 7. It's short and tight, this Saxon circuit, but some spectacular undulation, the big features of this 3.6 kilometer layout.
Ada di Indo, di Mandalika.
We just talked about how Johan Zarco's lethal, isn't he? Ruthless going through that turn number 11. He's a joy to behold going through that corner. What have you made of his weekend so far through turn 11?
Yeah, that overtake, he did it yesterday on Brad. It wasn't quite as clean. He's perfected it now. I was just as impressed yesterday when he did it like 4th gear through there. On the left side, if we get another onboard, you'll spot it. It's so fast. He's getting on the gas a little early, so he can turn in a little bit early, overtake. But the tricky thing is to stay on the track, on the exit still, and he manages it really well. I'm going to say bravery from a rider's point of view. Big respect.
Yeah, he's got the
Ya, battle.
skill, hasn't he? No question.
Battle of VR46.
Was the mini VR46 boys.
Iya.
Trying to engage through the first corner. Bezzecchi was briefly up into 5th place ahead of Marini, but he just went in a little bit hot, and Marini took the place back. Quick check on Jack Miller, who after leading the early part of this Grand Prix has dropped back to 7th place. Alex Marquez has just taken 8th.
Oh, bisa nih GG nih top 10.
Fabio Quattraro are starting to have some, not issues, but certainly dealing with deteriorating grip from that soft Michelin rear tyre. Quattraro is still circulating.
Qatar nggak jadi sih buka. Nggak tahu sih. Nggak tahu kenapa ya.
Quattraro's got Akira riders behind him. He's got Oliveira, Augusto Fernandez, and Frankie Morbidelli. Quattraro's teammate right behind him. They're battling for the final 4 points positions at the moment. That just tells you the depth that
Nggak tahu, coba ke Google.
in recent times. Back with the race leaders, back with the championship leaders. You can see that they're putting a bit of distance between themselves and Marco Bezzecchi in the title chase as it stands at the moment. But this is about much more than just 25 points. This is about Jorge Martin trying to put a marker down to Pecco Bagnaia to say that I am a genuine threat to the number 1 on the front of your Ducati this season. Can he hang on? Can Luca Marini hang on from Bezzecchi? Last time around, Bezzecchi went into turn 1. Can he make it a bit cleaner this time?
Well, he certainly hope he does. You can see
Is it clean?
the chattering on
Yeah,
the
it's
front
clean.
end of that
It's clean. It's clean.
VR46 Ducati. This time around, though, he has made it through. Marini just couldn't turn in through that tight second gear first corner.
Oh ya, karena Fieldon.
This is just the first installment of a
DJ belum bisa nyalip.
showdown for the title and potentially a big rivalry, and into the Ducati squad rivalry in MotoGP. Jorge Martin just issuing another reminder how angry he was, frustrated he was to be overlooked for that seat alongside Bagnaia. They could have been teammates, couldn't they, in 2023, had Ducati not plumped for an Airbus Giannini. But he's channeling that disappointment into a big positive right now, isn't he, Martin, as he still holds on to an advantage through turn number 11. We're just into the second half of this German Grand Prix. He's nearly half a second clear of Bagnaia, about a tenth faster in that third split. There is Paolo Ciabatti looking on. He's the only member of the Ducati
Wah, Quartararo nih. Quartararo kayaknya bakal ke-14 nih. Augusto Fernandez mau nyalip Quartararo tadi.
Opting to skip this Grand Prix, hoping that Jonsbo can find a way through on Brad Binder to make it a 4th all Ducati podium in the Grand Prix this year so far.
Good response from Martin on that last lap. He got down to a 121.366, a quarter of a second quicker than Bagnaia behind him. Bagnaia will want to try and hold this momentum that Martin is carrying through the recent races. Of course, it's a momentum which is going to close it even further in the World Championship as it stands at the moment. Binder maintains that 0.3 of a second buffer over Zarco. Fabio Quartararo's woes deepen, by the way, further back down the field. He has now lost out to Miguel Oliveira, drops to 13th now.
Wouldn't be surprised at the end of this Grand Prix if Quattararo's not doing 23s. He's already in the mid-122s, suffering with that fading grip on that soft rear tyre. You've got to say at the moment, this has been a
Aduh, ada yang jatuh.
Are out in sex. It's Binder
out.
You can see his name tumbling down the timing screen.
Hancur motornya.
That's a big one, isn't it? Oh, he looks really, really groggy. He looks really, really groggy, doesn't he, there? He'd be getting a standing 8 count if he was in a boxing ring right now with Brad Binder. So slipping through the grasp of the South African as a Saxon ring podium here, and we are potentially on course for an all Ducati roster again here.
Podiumnya kayak kemarin ini, 2 Pramac plus Pecco. Oh, Ducati top 5. Ducati top 5. Pecco, nggak tahu kalau Pecco.
Walking away, he's gone down through those fast left-handers in the middle part of the lap. Now we run a ball, and this is coming through turn 9, isn't it? He's already wide now. He just has to dump it in the gravel trap.
It looked like he lost the front. There was something happened to him there going into the corner, wasn't it? And then he just went careering into the gravel trap.
Ya, Quartararo disalip Augusto Fernandes.
Washing machine job, wasn't it there for?
NE-nya 8.
Yeah, guys, I actually think he lost the rear. I think the side
Lost the rear.
rear tires dropped off. He's turned in, it's come around. He's had to stand up and then he can't make the corner.
Yeah, thanks for that, Simon. Brad Binder, that was a big one. High-speed crash, that was pitching in there into that turn number 8, third gear, nearly in 150 kilometers an hour. Ducati then at the moment on course. Last weekend in Mugello, the celebrations were sparked.
Ducati top 10 semua nih. Ducati top 10 semua.
Better 1 week later, the first ever Ducati all top 5 in the MotoGP World Championship. I think it was this week as well, the 20th anniversary of their very first Premier Class victory in the hands of Loris Capirossi, still very much a prominent member of this MotoGP.
Satelit Yamaha mah nggak ada yang mau.
Of Zarco, who in turn has a very lonely ride to third place as it stands right now. He's 2 seconds clear of Marco Bezzecchi in 4th.
If Jack Miller wasn't there, it'd be an old Ducati top 7 in this Grand Prix with Marc Marquez and Bastianini just behind him. Of course, this is a circuit that Ducati haven't won at in 15 years. Their hopes look pretty high for an end to that losing streak this time, but which Ducati rider is going to take those 25 points is still far from certain. Bagnaia closing right back in again on the back of Martin.
Same hard compound front tyre, same medium compound rear tyre, pretty much the same motorcycle underneath Martin and Bagnaia. This is all down to the guy that's twisting the throttle here, isn't it? And now Bagnaia dropping down through the 5th gear.
Iya, udah saatnya nyalip.
He's lined this one up and Bagnaia decides this
Bisakah?
is time.
Oh,
this
bisa.
is his moment in this German Grand Prix. For the first time then, he hits the front, the world champion in P1.
Is that the
What can Martin can do?
Of this German Grand Prix. Can Martin fight back immediately? He gets a pretty good run there out of turn 13. You kind of feel Martin needs to strike back immediately. He can't allow Bagnaia to get into his rhythm.
Ayo fight back.
Yeah, not giving an inch there, was he? Not giving a millimetre to Martin to try and attack him. But an immediate counter-attack move into the first corner. What have you got then now, Jorge Martin, the world champion, hits the front then. 9 laps to go here. We're in the phase of the Grand Prix where rear tyre management is going to be fundamental. As Bagnaia just been watching Jorge Martin for these first 20 laps or so.
Masih belum bisa.
Keeping an eye on how Martin's rear tyre is holding up, how Martin's rear tyre is behaving. And Bagnaia feels like that was his time to hit the front, and now he will get his head down and try and stretch away.
Bisa diudun. Kalau ada motor yang kompetitif aja. Di Honda aja dia bisa 100% kok. Kasih motor yang bagus aja pasti bisa. For the moment, but Bagnaia is in the place that he loves to be. He loves to be the race leader. He loves to set the pace out front. This was what we saw in Mugello last weekend, and Martin couldn't last the pace.
This will feel very, very sweet, won't it? This will be revenge in many respects if he does take the checkered flag first. What happened to him here 1 year ago, back at Bagnaia, when that costly mistake while trying to pursue Fabio Quartararo, we thought had wrecked his World Championship hopes here last season. Right here, wasn't it? In the race 1 year ago, where he had that tumble and slipped 91 points behind the Frenchman before launching the greatest comeback in Grand Prix.
Rumornya sih KTM sih rumornya. Cuman KTM nggak tahu ya. Umur udah 30 tahun. Skill sih ada, cuman umur 30 tahun. KTM punya Pedro Acosta, Binder, Augusto Fernandes.
He can't break away from Jorge Martin. What will be happening here to Martin's front tyres? Well, that will be coming into reckoning too, without the clear air ahead of him behind Bagnaia's back to Ducati.
Kalau Ducati agak susah. Ducati lebih suka sama rider-rider yang lebih muda. Mark 30 tahun. Gak bisa. Iya, banyak cedera juga kan. Ya.
In terms of the battle for the victory, encouraging as a neutral, Bagnaia has had the lead now for a couple of clear laps, but he's not been able to shake off the number 89 behind him. We're coming on to lap 24 of 30 now, 7 remain.
Yeah, this is building up to a grandstand finish, isn't it? Here now, then Martin is going to get some slipstream behind
Bisa kah?
Bagnaia. He can't though, cut to the inside line. Bagnaia is just too good, so precise and hard on the brakes, isn't he? This is Bagnaia's forte. He was asked about the contrasting styles, the way they approach riding this dominant Ducati in 2023, and he said Martin is better at turning, particularly around the Sachsenring circuit, but Bagnaia's clear advantage. All Ducati riders say Bagnaia is the guy that's superior in the braking zone on that GP23. Well, he's going to need to have that upper hand here, isn't he, to keep Martin at bay. Quickly down to you, Simon.
Yeah, the thing I'm worrying about now is you might have noticed
Gak boleh gitu.
tried to not stay behind for too long close. He either got close,
Kita lihat ya.
drop back, keep his front tire in the right temperature.
Suka banget EZ. Kan emang Honda kalau mau kenceng pakai Honda emang harus bawanya itu yang agresif gitu. Jadi, oh Martin moves. Cutback. Aduh, kameranya jelek. Oh, oke, bisa. Emang Honda kan harus dibawa secara agresif. Jadi ya kalau dengar kata agresif kan berarti harus ugal-ugalan gitu. Dan resiko ugal-ugalan kan jatuh, guys.
Your move, Pecco. Now it's you who has to do the chasing as Martin goes a little bit wide there, but he's able to bring it back to a late apex through turn 1. Now downhill into 2. They'll drop into the Omega of 3. Now Bagnaia is the one behind Martin. We have 6 laps of this remain, and everything we've seen so far suggests this is going to go right down to the wire.
Fantastic action this, isn't it, between Martin and Bagnaia. If it stays as is, the gap in the championship will be down to 16 points heading to Assen next weekend.
Yes, 9. Let's go. 8 Ducati di top 9. Jack Miller keganggu nih, Jack Miller nih. Kalau nggak ada Jack Miller, 8 Ducati. Ada 8 Ducati di top 10.
So good towards the end of these races, isn't he, Pecco Bagnaia? And now, of course, throwing the doubt in his mind about front tire temperature is Martin's move right here on that previous lap.
Jagoan di Gia. Rider San Mori, Fabio Di Gianantonio. Kalau dulu Bautista, cuman Bautista pindah kan ke World Superbike.
5 to go then here in the Sachsenring, and it's a 3/10 of a second advantage for Martin over Bagnaia. He drops that right leg, drops anchor, stops that Prima Puma Ducati in this tight first sector of the Sachsenring. They drop down the hill there now. Second gear through the Omega corner now, turn number 3. Martin standing firm in the brilliant pressure being put in from Pecco Bagnaia. So a quick check on that gap between Zarco and Bezzecchi. 1.5 seconds it was through the first sector. Zarco tries to make it another double podium for Prima Pramac race. That would be the 3rd race in a row, wouldn't it, if they did
Dibawa
that?
ke check up medical center.
Martin and Zarco fighting for 3 consecutive podiums in 3 Grand Prix for the first time in their career. Brad Binder goes to the Circuit Medical Center for a check-up after his high-speed get-off at turn number 18.
Berapa lap lagi? 5 lap lagi.
A little bit dazed and confused. He got to his feet in the gravel trap.
Riders on the software tire are really suffering. We've already covered Quartararo's problems. He's back in 14th, but Aleix Spargo, he's in the high 22s now. He lost a place to Fabio Di Gianantonio on the next lap, and he's now going to come under pressure from Miguel Oliveira as well. So those who went for the software tire are starting to pay the price.
Through the final corner we go.
Di F1 Lando Norris, cuman nggak terlalu ngikutin F1. Iya kan aku streaming. Streaming sama TV kan agak delay yang streaming. Delay berapa detik ya? Alex Espargaro suffering. Ban belakangnya udah habis kayaknya. 11 dia.
The other battle to look out for then on track, besides the battle that we're all glued to for the lead, is between Miller and Marini. They're battling for 5th, but Almost, he course reach out and touch the rear tyre there of Jorge Martin Bagnaia.
Turn 12 nih, turn 12 nih.
Down the hill from 11 and into the right-hander of 12. Bagnaia looks like he's
Cermin kematian.
counter-attack on Martin.
3.5 to go then here on the Saxon ring. We can almost reach out and touch Jorge Martin's exhaust pipes.
Yo, let's go.
He's got the corner speed. He gets
Ih, di block anjir.
through on the curbs. Bagnaia
Gak bisa masuk.
Martin chops Bagnaia's nose off down the bottom of the hill into turn number 12. Bagnaia then, he'll have 3 laps to go here. 39 corners to try and work her way through on Martin, but with 3 laps to go here in the Saxon ring, it is Martin that still has the advantage over the line.
Martin positioned his bike well there. He didn't give Bagnaia a sniff of the inside line as they dropped down the hill. He hooked the left-hand side of the circuit, left Bagnaia with the option of either running into the back of Martin or backing out of it. Bagnaia chose the wise option.
Yeah, I think Betseki's running out of steam in that fight for the podium. A 1:22.4 for him on that last lap means he's slipped now very, very quickly, 2 seconds behind Zarco. So Zarco should be locked in and safe for a 3rd place. Another podium going the way of the Frenchman. Bagnaia, again, he has found a way to make that Ducati GP23 turn better in this 2nd sector, hasn't he? He's so close to the rear tyre Martin, particularly as they drop down through this high speed turn number 7. Surely he's going to try and line up that move through that fast 50th sweep through turn number 11, although Martin's got great drive coming through turn number 8, and that might break Bagnaia. He's not going to be close to busy to make that switch through 11 now.
Nggak bisa terlalu jauh.
If anything goes wrong between these two, Zarco's in the position to take advantage, but Martin's had a very good 28th lap here. He's been able to pull out a 1/4 of a second, which doesn't sound like much, but with so little time remaining, we're about to start the penultimate lap. That is a big enough advantage as Bagnaia closes in on the brakes into 13.
This is what you want to see in the MotoGP World Championship, isn't it? A potential last lap showdown between 2 of the fastest riders in the world, the top 2 men in the World Championship coming into this German Grand Prix. Look how defensive and tight Jorge Martin goes on the inside. It's Ducati, snakes left, it snakes right, but somehow he does cut it to a late apex into the 1st corner.
Oh, I was worried for Martin there. He's defending
Squad
fresh
favorit.
air on the start finish again. Nearly runs into the back of Martin. Martin is riding around the Saxon
Mugello sama Austria sih.
rather than thinking what's ahead of it.
Tapi Austria yang layout dulu, yang masih banyak track lurusnya tuh.
Inches away, millimeters away from Martin's rear tyre as well. They sweep, power the Ducatis down through turn number 7. A lap and a half to go here in what has been a nail-biting and enthralling and gripping German Grand Prix. What is going to unravel in the next sort of 2.5 minutes or so as we track Jorge Martin, your race leader, through turn number 10 he goes. They'll flick it now hard right, 5th gear, and again Martin so good, he gets great drive up the hill coming out of 8, that Bagnaia can't get close enough to swoop on his inside through 11.
It looks like through the slower twisty stuff at the start of the lap, Bagnaia is quicker than Martin. Through the faster corners, the left-handers that lead us down to the waterfall, Martin is quicker.
Last lapnya seru nih, last lapnya seru nih.
He's gonna have a good run.
Santai bro. Santai bro.
That could be the decisive moment. Pekka Bagnaia
Santai.
Into turn number 13. Now then, he has been able to regroup. He was fortunate there, maybe not to have that front end wipe out from underneath him. He stays on board the factory Ducati. Has he got anything left there now as they drop through turn number 3 for the final time?
Makin dekat.
Martin on the brink of a brilliant second
Bisa ngedekat nggak nih?
But the world champion throwing it all on the line here as he seeks revenge here in the Saxon ring.
He needs a big final lap here. He needs the last lap of a champion. Does Pekka Bagnaia? He's got 0.3 of a second to try and close down after the 1st sector. As we now come through the 2nd, Martin has lost a 10 to Bagnaia. This is far from over yet.
How much risk will Bagnaia?
Nggak bisa nih Peko, kejauhan.
He knows now if he launches it, if he throws it the scenery, Jorge Martin will actually seize the world championship lead.
Nggak bisa.
Now to the final 2 corners, Jorge Martin has what, half a dozen bike lengths on Pekka Bagnaia. He tries to close it on the brakes. Has he going to make a move in the final corner? Martin on the inside line. Coming up to now, this final corner, turn number 13. He goes defensive.
Nggak bisa defensif.
Martin has got this one covered.
Defensive line-nya.
Pekka Bagnaia.
Ih, tipis. Ih, anjir.
How close was that? But it's Jorge Martin who takes a Saxon
Tipis banget.
absolutely incredible late drama.
500 of a second itu kayaknya.
Martin takes the win by just 600 of a
Mantap,
second.
Nardidi, terima kasih. Tap-tap.
It is the dream double in Germany.
Gokil. 500 of a second itu kayaknya. Gila.
Resisting almighty pressure from the world champion Pekka Bagnaia. Johan Zarco does take third place. Betseki Marini in what is an historic all the Ducati
Berapa
top
sih?
5.
1,1. Mantap jempol kamu.
Absolutely incredible post-race celebrations. Jorge Martin takes, well, he's run out of energy. He's absolutely drained. He does the victory roll. He looks to the skies. What a race that was. Over the finish line, what, half a bike length between Martin and Bagnaia. Pekka Bagnaia's going to be ruining that contact, isn't he, at the final corner on the second to last lap. But this man stood firm in some of the
Ya, sama-sama. Makasih juga sudah mampir.
In the Saxon ring.
What a Grand Prix that was. 30 laps of edge of the seat drama. As we're already getting a celebration taking place there. He's going to light the fireworks. It was an explosive race between Martin and Bagnaia. That is what it does to the World Championship. Bagnaia's lead is cut to 16 points over Jorge Martin. Any questions we had about Jorge Martin's MotoGP Championship credentials, I think they've all been answered over the last 24 hours.
Superb job by that man on your screens. No wonder he's soaking up the atmosphere, soaking up these very special scenes. Let's go down to Simon in pit lane.
I've got Paolo Ciabatti with me. Paolo, well, they're both Ducati riders, but I've got to say, Pecco, he was second, but what a beautiful job he did managing it all there.
Boom.
Doing it, right to the end.
Yeah, well, it was just an incredible race. Obviously, it was almost a photo finish on the start-finish line. I know Pecco tried hard. I think Martino rode a great race. Good for Ducati. We are again free on the podium. I think 5 in the top 5. So
Tipis.
for the company.
Congratulations.
What a day for Ducati.
Gak apa-apa kalau yang penting masih di puncak klasemen.
That was one of the best Grand Prix wins of this young man's career, and he's had a few, hasn't he? The 25-year-old Spaniard, that is a win number 12 in his career, second in MotoGP, but to withstand the onslaught that came, not just from a factory Ducati rider, but from the reigning world champion, Pecco Bagnaia. You do just wonder, be fascinating to hear what he thinks about that last corner contact.
Sampai sini aja ya, dadah semuanya. Thank you Nardidi, Nardidi yang udah
It's an emotional
thank
day,
you.
the tears are flowing as he does complete the double here. What a weekend. 37-point haul for Jorge Martin. Weekends don't get much better than that, do they? As he takes up the atmosphere with nearly 100,000 fans here at the German Grand Prix. Can't quite believe it, can he? Simon, back down to you. So Martin then it is that takes the victory by just 600ths of a second. That can't be too far away from being one of the closest finishes in MotoGP history, can it? What a race that was. There was half a bike length in it, not quite in the top 10 all-time closest Premier Class winning margins, but it was mighty close. When all said and done, not the win he wanted to avenge the disappointment of 1 year ago, but in the bigger picture of the championship, he almost toppled off the side of that Ducati there nearly.
Well, we've already seen Jorge Martin rolling around on the tarmac, so here's how close it got. This will be the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. Look how close that is as Martin just gives Bagnaia no room at all. He made sure that he couldn't take
Nice
that
block,
inside
though.
line
Nice
down the
block.
hill. That was the crucial moment for Martin, one of many in that race. You have to say, tactically, Jorge Martin positioned his bike perfectly. He fended Bagnaia off at the crucial spots on the circuit where he was potentially going to come at risk. Did worry coming into the final corner of the final lap whether by defending into the Queckenberg corner it might just give Bagnaia the run up the hill to the finish line, but the finish line came just in time and Martin took that victory by just 64 thousandths of a second.
Well, it's usually Marc Marquez that brings the magic to the Saxon ring, but this time it's Martin sprinkling some magic over this historic German Grand Prix venue as he celebrates with the marshals What a weekend, fantastic weekend. Nice rolling stoppy up the hill into the parc fermé. Let the wild celebrations commence then for Pramac Ducati. First independent team ride to win the Saxon Ring since Max Biaggi way back in 2004. That's what MotoGP is all about. That was MotoGP at its very best. Gloriously sunny summer day, nearly 100,000 fans packed into the grandstands, and an absolute classic. Best race of the season so far, without any question. It went all the way down to the wire, and by what, a half a bike length. Ducati versus Ducati, Martin versus Bagnaia. The Spaniard takes the spoils in the Saxon Ring, and it is very much game on, isn't it, in terms of this championship scrap. 16 points, split the pair of them, heading to the Dutch TT in Assen next weekend. A nice embrace there. Fonzi Nieto, the rider coach in that Prima Pramac Racing camp. And
So thank you semuanya udah mampir, thank you udah habis ini live main bebek jam 9 lah.